Zoom recording. All right, perfect. All right, we all good there? Everybody can hear and see me? All right, excellent. So let's jump right on in here. So today, I'm going to get right to the point. Everybody, today's class is all about the four phases to a sales call. Okay, and it's really a 4-step sequence. So let me ask you guys this: how many of you have heard that? And use your chat box, and the faster you answer, the faster we'll get through this, right? So how many of you have heard that you can't use a sales script because you can't force your prospect to follow a script? It's a very common thing that we've heard, right? Yes. Again, use your chat box. Let me know if you've heard it or not, right? Yeah, a lot of you have heard it, right? Some of you haven't. That's good. Okay, so here's the thing. Anybody that says that just doesn't know how to sell. I'm just going to say that. Okay, so maybe they have some experience of closing some deals, but they're not at the next level. Okay, and they don't have an understanding of what sales is really about, because sales is a lot like baseball. So hear me out on this. Every time you get to the batter's box is like when you're picking up the phone. Okay, so your job, your first step that you have to do is you have to at least get to first base. Even if you hit a double, a triple, even if you hit a home run, even if you hit a grand slam, you still have to run around and touch all the bases in order, correct? If you hit a double, you can't go from home plate, run across pitcher's mound right to second. Does this make sense to you guys so far? Yes or no? Use your, like I said, and if it's not, let me know, right? Okay, so here's the thing. Sales is a lot like that. So you got to get to first base. So there's really four phases to the sales call. And I'm just going to bring this point up now. For those of you who still think that scripts are bad, or they're not useful, or you can't have a prospect, follow your script. One, your definition of a sales script is probably off. Okay. But two, how many of you, if you were having to go to court and you need an attorney because you're being accused of something, whether you did it or not, isn't the point, but how many of you would want an attorney that would just show up and go, I'm just going to wing it? I'm just going to feel it out. I'm going to feel the jury. I'm going to feel what the prosecution evidence has. And we'll just see how it goes. You probably are going to end up in jail, whether you're guilty or innocent, right? Yeah. So you don't want this. So why on a sales call would you want to do the same thing? And I think the answer is nobody wants to. It's just that nobody's ever broken down and explained that there literally is a step-by-step process to selling, whether it's face-to-face, over the phone, over Zoom, it doesn't matter anymore. There's a sequence, a sales process. And since I use the word sequence, I'll also bring this in. When I say sequence, I'm not talking about the cadence or the number of touches or whatever, right? Because at the end of the day, whether you make 1 touch or 10 touches or somewhere in between, or 100 touches, once you get the prospect on the phone, or you got the meeting in front of them, or on a Zoom, you have to know that you're in the batter's box. It's showtime, and you got to get to step 1. Make sense? And the problem is, too many salespeople are Captain Wing-Its at that point. All right? And they just kind of fly by the seat of their pants. And that causes major problems. So we're going to fix that today. So the first thing is there are 4 phases, right? I'm going to share something here on my screen. So let's just do this. I'm sharing the screen right now, right? Okay. So can you guys see this flow chart here? Let me pop open the chat box to make sure. Oh, you know what? Let me just do it this way. I'm going to share. All right, hold on. Let's do it this way. All right. Everybody should be able to see this, this right here, correct? And again, I want to pop open that chat box just so I can see for sure. We good? All right, there's a chat box. Yes. Okay. The sales process flowchart. Sorry about that. I'm used to WebEx, and now we're switching over to Zoom, so it's a little bit quirky for me. All right, but as long as you can see it. So here's the thing. The 4 phases of the sales call is this. The very first step is your openers. You guys see this? The very first step is I'll get to the bottom. I just want you to be able to see this part right here, the openers. You're on the batter's box. The openers is first base. How do you know if you get to first base? Well, you piqued interest and you gained permission to continue the call. This is how you get to first base. What does that mean? It means what you say after hello, my name is. And there's a very simple formula. A lot of people hate cold calling. By the way, let me just quickly define what a cold calling is, because some of you might say, well, I don't do cold calling. Okay. Well, I feel like a lot of people say they don't do cold calling, and then I explain how do they, I go, okay, so you get a bunch of inbound warm leads, people raising their hand. I'm like, no, I warm them up by sending an email first. Okay, that's still cold calling. The definition of a cold call is contacting any prospect. That also includes existing clients, by the way, but contacting any prospect that is not currently raising their hand. So just because you send them an email, and then try to follow up with them or make a call to them after that email to try, to warm them up, it's still a cold call. They weren't raising their hand. Does that make sense? That's the literal definition of a cold call, contacting a prospect that is not currently raising their hand. And yes, that also means if you want to do add-on sales and a client is, or you want to get a reorder, but they weren't raising their hand, you're reaching out to them, that is still a cold call for that specific objective that you have. Make sense? All right. So, and by the way, even if it is a warm call, meaning they filled out a form and it got assigned to you, they had a quote request or some type of request, right? Yeah, I'll get to that in a second, David. That's a great question. So even if it's that, you still follow the same formula of, if it's a warm call and meaning you got a warm lead and then you're calling it for the first time, you still follow the same formula as if they didn't raise their hand and you're calling them, meaning you have to use an opening value statement. That's phase one. Does this make sense? Now, what is the job of phase one of an opening value statement? That's your opener. That's I got to get to first base. How do I know that I'm on first base? First, you know that you got to first base safely because they gave you permission to continue the call. Now, David's asking, gain permission to continue the call? This is a lot of people that first hear this, it's very controversial to them because they've been drilled since day one. When they've gotten to sales, they've been told to never give your prospect an out, correct? In fact, a lot of the books and seminars and things, and you see it on LinkedIn, a lot of these quote unquote sales gurus, they teach you to try to establish tight control right out of the gate by asking a probing question. True? Get them on the phone, try to ask a probing question and try to take control, right? You guys have heard this, yes? That's your normal play? Or you try to build rapport falsely, correct? Right? Okay. None of these are as effective as what I'm about to share with you, because the objective is to get to first base to mean you're safe, you've piqued their interest, and now they're willing to have a conversation with you. That's phase one. Well, how do you do that? There's a very simple formula, okay? Your opening value statement has to pique a prospect's interest, and then when you're done with that, you end it by gaining permission to continue the call. And if they say, sure, yes, I got a second, go ahead. A lot of you going, I can't do that. They're going to say no. Well, if you reverse engineer this, why would they say no? They would only say no if what you said after hello, my name is did not pique their interest. Does this make sense? Okay, so watch this. So if I made a cold call to a sales drive, I did the research and I see that they fit my ICP, my ideal customer profile, and I contact them and I go, hi, this is Michael Pedone with salesbuzz.com and I provide online sales training. And I want to see if I could ask you a few questions, see if I can help you. Would that be okay? Chances are the answer is going to be no. Why? Because I led with my solution, which is online sales training, and chances are they probably already have some type of internal training, or the last thing they want to do is waste money at another training program that they've had bad experiences in the past that didn't deliver an ROI, right? And then again, a lot of them do internal training. Okay, so how do you fix? So watch this. Now, if I call them and I go, hi, this is Michael Pedone with salesbuzz.com. The reason for my call, I specialize in helping outbound sales teams overcome call reluctance. And if I caught you at a good time, I'd love to ask you a few questions just to see if what we have to offer may be of some help to you. Would that be okay? Now, 90% of my target audience, even if they already have an internal sales training solution, chances are their team, at least half of them, are not making the amount of dials that are going to make the sales director happy because they're suffering from call reluctance. Does that make sense? So do you see how I follow this simple formula to where I lead with, I'm agitating a pain, scratching an itch. I'm bringing up a problem that my targeted prospect is going to have in order to raise the antenna and pique some curiosity and some interest. Notice I'm not data dumping. I'm not over explaining. I'm just very quickly pulling a Band-Aid off something. And then I quickly follow it up. I take a quick pause and I follow it up with, and if I caught you at a good time, I'd like to ask you a few questions just to see if what we have to offer might be of some help to you. Would that be okay? I'm gaining permission from them. I don't want to spend all the time on how to create an opening value statement. I actually, there's a free course that you can take online. I think everybody will get access to this, to a link to sign up. I'll make sure the marketing team sends it if you're interested. I mean, make no mistake, I make my money by teaching. People pay me to access our online sales training course, and it's from A to Z, from right on down, right? But with that being said, I always give the first course away for free. It's on opening value statements. You're more than welcome to take it for free. I'll make sure you guys set the link so you can deconstruct it, learn how to do it. But that is phase one. So you can custom create it for your own industry, right? It doesn't matter what industry you're in. The formula is the same. Do you understand? Whether you're selling your computer software related, your information technology related, your logistics, your marketing and advertising. I mean, take your pick. Every prospect you're calling, the only way they're going to want to talk to you is if you can agitate a pain, scratch an itch where you pique their interest. You have to bring up a problem that they're going to have in order for them to want to see if you can help them solve it. You follow me? That's a very successful, simple formula. Rather than the stupid stuff I see, like I got an email yesterday from, I'm on my competitors' newsletters list, right? I'm not going to say which one. I'm not trying to embarrass him. It was probably written by a content writer, somebody who never made a phone call in their life anyway. But it's the same stupid stuff that I see even the content creators at LinkedIn push out, where it says, mention a post of theirs to try to get them to engage, give them a compliment. This is so stupid. Okay, this was obviously written by people who have never had to make a living selling by phone. I've been a straight commission sales rep for over 25 years. Nobody was paying me a salary. Okay, so I had to get really good and do this right. The wrong sales advice would mean I didn't eat that week and my family couldn't eat. So I get very passionate about this stuff, and I'm sharing with you the things that I have figured out and mapped out and perfected to a T, so that no matter what industry that I was in, I just converted to that language, right? That the industry buzzwords, but I'm following the same process. And then I made literally millions of dollars doing it this way. Okay, Francis, I see your hand. Just hold on. Okay, so I want to get through this. Are we all good so far? You're all right. You guys can hear me, or I see a couple people raising their hand. Just hold on, because I want to get this. I want to try to get this done within a half hour, so everybody get back on the phone. All right. All right. So your phase one, out of the four steps of the sales call, is you have to have an opening value statement that'll pique interest and gain permission to continue the call. And it's going to take practice. You're going to want to learn how to do it. You're going to script it out. There's going to be times that you create the script, and on paper it's going to look great, and then I'm going to want you to role play it. Okay, I want you to record yourself saying it, so you can get it's not just what you say, it's what you say and how you say it, so you can perfect it all and get it down. There's going to be times that you write it out and it's going to look great on paper, but when you go to execute it, it's just not going to, the flow's not going to be right or whatever. That's fine. This is all part of the process to create your playbook. So then you're going to go ahead and I want you to work on that, get your opening value statement. Then the problem is going to be is you're going to start to see that the majority of people are going to say, yeah, sure, I got a second. My rate is like 90%. When I cold call somebody and I use my opening value statement, 90% of the time I get them started talking. It's very rare, and they'll say, no, thanks, not interested, we're all set. And I don't care about that 10%. The problem is most salespeople have it reversed. They're getting 90% rejection and very few acceptance. And it's hard to get deals in the pipeline when you're getting that much rejection. Well, you're getting that rejection for one of probably three reasons. You're calling the wrong type of people. that don't need what you have to say or what you offer. What you're saying is wrong, or how you're saying it is wrong. You fix those things, right? And you're going to start to improve. All right. And how do you do that? You have to have an opening value statement. By the way, you can have multiple value statements in the same company, even if you are all only selling one solution. Okay. Like I could use call reluctance as an issue. I could also bring up other pain points as an issue, right? So you can do that, yeah, and find what works best for you. Okay, so now the problem is going to be, once you find a right opening value statement, and you learn phase one of the sales call process, right? Well, the first step is I got to pique interest and gain permission. I got to have an opening value statement that works. Once you get that that opening value statement to work, you're going to start hearing a lot of prospects go, okay, sure, I got a second, go ahead. And now you're going to be like, what the hell do I do next? And unfortunately, a lot of salespeople do one of two things. They either start data dumping and explaining their solution. Why would you do that? You have to understand, problem recognition comes before solution. If there's no problem to solve, there's no need for a solution. Why explain your solution? Okay, so they data dump, or they start pulling questions out of the air. Maybe they're following a script that their company was giving them, but they don't have any understanding of why those questions are there in the script. And listen, I'll be the first to admit, most sales scripts create more problems than they solve because they weren't created properly to begin with. There wasn't a systematic step-by-step approach. So even though I'm more of a hockey guy, go Tampa Bay Lightning, baseball seems to be a really good visual analysis for the sales cycle, because every time I pick up the phone, we're in the batter's box. I got to get to first base. How do I do that? I got to pique interest and gain permission to continue the call. They say, okay, I'm on first base. Now I got to get to second. I got to qualify them. Now, some of you might be going, well, I already know they're qualified. They have the right title, the right industry. Listen, then your definition of qualifying and my definition of qualifying are different. There's 3 phases to qualifying. Okay, real quickly, without getting too deep into the weeds here. The first phase of qualifying is do they have a problem that I can help solve? And chances are, if you're cold calling them, they don't know that they have a problem yet. And you can't call and tell them they have a problem because they're going to doubt it. So you have to be an expert at knowing what questions to ask to get them to recognize a problem. Okay. And that's where you start with phase one. To get to second base. You're already on first. You want to get to second. Well, phase one is I have to qualify them. And the first thing you have to do is by making sure and see if they have a problem. By the way, if it was an inbound lead, they raised their hand, they contacted you, they have some type of problem recognition already. That's what made them look for a solution. This is why you love warm or hot leads, whether you knew it or not. With that being said, if you skip this step, excuse me, even on a warm inbound lead, if you skip this step of getting problem recognition, you're going to have problems at the end. Okay, so you still follow the same process, but so you piqued interest, you gained permission to continue the call, and now you want to leave first base, you want to get to second, and the first thing you have to do is you have to qualify them. And the first part of qualifying is to recognize a problem. Got to get them to have to recognize a problem. And like I said a minute ago, you can't call and tell them you have a problem because they'll doubt it. So how do you do that? You're going to have to ask the right questions. Every question that you have is designed for a specific purpose and reason. So once I pique interest and gain permission to continue the call, I now know my next objective. It's like a video game. I just got to level 1. I got to get to level 2. Okay. And to do that, I want to ask the right questions. Well, where do you start? You have to realize, yeah, I'll scroll up a little bit. There you go. Sorry about that. You have to realize that you have to go ahead and ask the right questions in order to do that. So my question is an engagement or an entrance point question. So after I gain permission, I want to ask an engagement question. We don't have time in this small set to go through on how to do these, but I want to give you the concept. And yes, I will send this flow chart to everybody afterwards. Okay. I'll make sure marketing sends it to you. So we don't have enough time to explain how to do it. I'm going to show you what to do first, because that's the big thing. You have to get problem recognition. You do that by asking an engagement question to get the conversation started. Then you pepper in an opportunity size, and then you identify the problems. So I'll give you one quick example before we run out of time and move on. So if I just piqued interest and gained permission, for me, by the way, I have multiple engagement questions I can pick and choose from. That's the other good thing about, you could have a playbook that just, you have one opening value statement, one engagement question, one opportunity size question, and you want everybody to use that, that's fine. Or you can give them leeway to say, hey, okay, you can use your own opening value statement. As long as it does the job, gets you to first base, I don't care. Some people can hit a single, some people are going to get hit by the pitch, some people are going to walk. Either way, as long as you get to first base, right? So you can have multiple things. Same thing when it comes to your engagement questions. Some people might like, as long as you know what the purpose of an engagement question is, and the purpose of an engagement question is to place your prospect's attention in an area that you need them thinking about. So now let's just step back for a second, where before you started today's call or today's webinar, if you made sales calls before the today's session, you might have been just shooting in the dark, right? Okay, just got to pick up the phone. I'm supposed to say something, get the conversation started, and just kind of fly by the seat of your pants. And chances are, unless you find that needle in the haystack, most often than not, those calls end in failure, right? And then you string too many of those together, and then call reluctance happens. And then your numbers go down. It's just a big problem. It's just a snowball effect that's bad news. Now, what you should have written down is, okay, now I have a game plan before I call this person. I have to pique interest, gain permission, and once I gain permission, I have to ask an engagement question, because my engagement question is designed to put their attention in an area I need them thinking about. Does that make sense? Let me give you an example. So if I just said to you, the reason for my call, I specialize in helping outbound sales teams overcome call reluctance. And if I caught you at a good time, I'd like to ask you a few quick questions just to see if what we have to offer may be of some help to you. Would that be okay? Yeah, you know what? Yeah, sure. I got a second. Go ahead. Awesome. So listen, I guess my first question is this. I think I already know the answer, but your sales team, are they handling inbound warm leads, or are they doing outbound prospecting? Now, here's the beauty of an engagement question. I don't care how they answer. I'm not trying to force them. This is the problem with old sales scripts. I'm not trying to force them to answer a certain way. I want honesty. And I also want to ask a question that would not put them on the defense of not knowing me and asking too personal of some information. So a question like that is going to say, well, they could answer, you know what, we do have some inbound leads, but it's mostly outbound, or it's mostly outbound, whatever it is. It doesn't matter how they answer. The point is they answered, and it wasn't a yes or no question. It wasn't a closed-ended question. Yes, it was an open-ended question, but it's more important to know the purpose and the objective of the question rather than just saying, oh, I already know we're supposed to ask an open-ended question there. Okay, what is that open-ended question supposed to do for you? Oh, I don't know. Okay, this is where I want to take you to that next level. By you knowing the purpose of that open-ended question, which is to ask an engagement question that puts their attention in an area that gets them to respond and open up, you're now having a sales conversation, and you're not doing something stupid like trying to butter them up with false rapport, about the weather or a LinkedIn post or anything of that nature, unless that LinkedIn post was relevant, which it almost always never is. Are you guys with me in this or no? Is this helpful? I know we're almost out of time. We still have two other things to get to. We're good? Okay. So yeah, so then I have a series of questions that are just like that by the time I'm done, and by the way, I can get problem recognition usually within a minute and a half, no more than 2 minutes from the time I say, hello, my name is. So even though somebody might be going, oh man, that's a lot of questions there. When you know how to do it and you're comfortable and you're confident, you know why, usually within 90 seconds of a sales call starting, I can find out if there's a pain point there, but more importantly, they recognize now that they have one and they want to continue the call, which means I'm going to go to the second phase of qualifying. Okay. Remember I said there's 3 phases of qualifying. I don't ever want to assume that somebody is a decision maker, because they could use the excuse later on, well, I have to check with so-and-so. So if I made the assumption that they were a decision maker and I didn't tie it down early on, when I had their interest high, right after we just discovered a problem, that could come back to bite me. So there's a whole series of questions and I want to pepper in, but I want to cover all three of them in the qualifying phase, which is going to get me to second base. Does this make sense to everybody? Again, we're supposed to be going over what to do, not how to do it. There's no way. I mean, it would take me 4 hours, to go ahead and explain each one of these things on how to go through it, and we can't do it in a half hour. All right. So, but phase one, let me just scroll here. Phase one, your opening value statement. Phase two is the qualifying area. Once you get to that, now you want to run the third. Okay, now now is the time to get in your presentation. Now, how many of you are SDRs or BDRs where after you had the initial conversation, you're handing it off? If you are, that's totally fine, right? You might want to make sure that you're asking phase, the full qualifying phases. So you're not just trying to set an appointment, because if you just try to set an appointment with somebody who's not qualified on all areas, it's a waste of time for everybody. All right. So with that being said, if you're a full sales cycle person, plus even if you are BDR and SDR, chances are you're going to want to become an account executive. So you're going to have to know how to close, which means you're going to have to know how to do the presentation. By the way, for those of you who are account executives now who are being handed the appointments by the BDR, you still need to know how to back up and ask some of these questions just before you launch into your online demo, your presentation or whatever. That's on you to make. If you're getting, if you just launch into a presentation because somebody fed you an appointment and then you get your pipeline full and it's not closing, okay, that's on you for not backing up to confirm the problems that were there, confirm they wanted them solved, how they want them solved, their role in the decision-making process, their time frame, right? And you could, and as long as you have a system set up where the BDR or the SDR is asking those questions and entering them in your system, there's a quick way to do like a 60-second recap. As a matter of fact, I gain permission in that scenario. If I'm getting handed to do a presentation, I'll go, so John, do you mind if I just back up for a second, make sure we're all on the same page to make sure what I'm presenting is going to be on point for you? Would that be okay? Yeah, sure. Okay. So as I understand it is that you have, and then I go right back to this is this. Okay. And then this is this process from here. Okay. And then you already know that our price range is gonna be from this to that. Is that right? Yes. Okay. Get all that done. All right. Let me see if I can help solve this for you. Let me show you a few things. And now I go right into the presentation. When it comes to the presentation, too many people go from start to finish and never let up. There literally are a few things that you could do that if you learn it, you don't have to. Everything I'm teaching you guys, by the way, some of you, I see some of the comments in private, they're sending to me like, hey, this is really advanced stuff. I don't think it's advanced. I think it's very basic, sales 101. The problem is this stuff is just not taught because most people don't know it, probably because they never had to make a living as a straight commission sales rep to perfect all this. All right. But there are very basic step-by-step process. You don't need advanced sales training unless, right? You only need advanced sales training if you are way over quota consistently and you really want to get to that next level. If you're not hitting quota and the quota is a fair number and you're not being consistent at it, chances are you're going to make a lot more money if you go back to the basics and you fine tune those and master those. That's how you become a master sales rep. You end up mastering the basics. And then the rest is going to just fall into place. So, to round the third, you got to go ahead and learn how to do your presentations. And there's a very specific question I like to ask at the end of my presentation that's really going to set things up for the close. So once the presentation, you're on third, you end the presentation, you ask this close on solution concept question, and then you get you get the right answer based on how they answer. Now it's time to handle objections and close the sale. When you look at the sales process in this aspect, where I got to do my openers, got to do my qualifying, got to do my presentation, and then I got to go ahead and close the sale. When you break it down into that formula, you're not afraid to pick up the phone anymore, especially when you know what to say. I know what I'm going to say before I pick up the phone. If I get the prospect, gatekeeper, voicemail, I know exactly what I'm going to say. If I get the gatekeeper, I know I'm going to say this. If it's voicemail, I'm going to say this. And then I'm going to send an email. It's already written. And then if I get the prospect, I know what to say. And I already know the first three questions I'm going to ask them once I get them on the phone and I gain permission, you get rid of call reluctance this way, but you have to understand there really is a step-by-step process to selling by phone. Okay. And with that being said, I will make sure, again, if some of you, I'll take a few questions. If you guys have to bounce, I'm going to pop open the Q&A here in a second. I do believe that the recording is on, so everybody should be able to get access to the recording. I'll instruct the marketing person to include the PDF. It won't do you any good without knowing how to execute the steps, but I'll send that over to you. And then if you're interested in taking the free course, again, I'm not making any bones about it. If you want to unlock the rest of the course, you'll have to pay for it. But if you want that free course to do on how to create your opening value statement, I'll give you a link to be able to do that. All right. So with that being said, I am going to go ahead. If you have to bounce, go ahead. Let me see here. Okay. It looks like the questions that were answered were eventually answered. All right. If you have any other questions, then let's do this, right? Feel free to email me at mpedone@salesbuzz.com. I'll be more than happy to help you. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn or ask me any questions that way. Okay. Yes, I'll make sure you send out the flow chart. All right. Good. Is this helpful to everybody? All right. Excellent, guys. Go make some sales. All right. Take care.